see at 2'11" we're already turning. So okay. So we should be leaving. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit your knee. We should be leaving on the right. We should be. Yeah, we're going like this. And then we're getting ready to make that turn. So that sewer should be leaving on this side of that area drain, of that foundation drain. And that fitting right there, that's on its side, is that floor drain.
Oh, okay.
That's where that floor drain's tying in. That's the telltale sign. So we are leaving on this side of it, for sure. So right here is your building connection. So you're going to remain cast iron outside to probably approximately 3 feet outside of the foundation wall before you make that transition over to either plastic and or clay tile. Okay, so that's what this connection is here. That's the little bit of an offset that you can see there of the clay tile, and then you can see the bottom of it. And then there's a little bit of root intrusion growing in from the top, which is completely normal. It's nothing, crazy.
Right, yeah.
Offsets are weird. You're going to get some plumbers that are going to say, even if you have one, it's bad. And that's not always the case. Back then when the sewer lines were laid, they didn't have the fittings available to them back then that we have today as far as the plastic, whether it be ABS or PVC. So it's not uncommon out here or even in places in Kansas where you will see them walk the tile on the hub joints. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and then see they're already walking it right now. So we're horizontal, we're laying flat with fall. And in this joint right here, you can kind of see how this next section is tipped down.
Yeah.
Because they're already walking the hubs. Okay? So your clay tile joints are going to be every 4 foot. That's just the length that they came in back in the days. I've seen some houses where plumbers were using scrap pieces and whatnot, and they were doing it every 18 inches or every foot. Just kind of was really dependent on, I guess, how they were feeling. So see, there's another small one there. And then here's the other one where it's cracked out a little bit right here, but it's not showing any signs of heaving up or anything of the such. But it is cracked right here, you can see it. And then you can see it down here at the 12 o'clock. This camera will always show bottom. So some cameras kind of turn, and then you can kind of see the water looks like it's flowing on the top.
Yeah.
But this one here is self-leveling, so the camera's always going to show true bottom no matter what. So it is cracked there. It is cracked there, and it's cracked there. But once again, guys, it's not showing any signs of heaving up. I don't know how long this has been like that. It could have been like that for years, guys. I have no idea.
And here's, so how far out are you?
19.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And then there's the crack continuing. Okay, so it's coming back. You can kind of see it down there a little bit where it comes this way, and then it kind of straightens out on the bottom a little bit, and it's following right through here, right in there, and then it kind of does a turn, kind of goes up and then around. Yeah. Just on a little bit different of a scale there, guys. So, and then there's just another joint where the two pipes are made up.
These pipes are, let's see, it was in 65 the house was built?
Yeah, that'd be, because they didn't really start going over to ABS plastic till like in the 80s.
Yeah.
I want to say around anywhere between like 82 to 84 is when they slowly started making that transition over to it. So this is where it was dug up before. So this is PVC, this is clay. So that must have been where they did their spot repair. So, and then that's where they made it right back up, and everything looks good there. And then there's a little bit of tree root growth in there, very small offset. All the offsets that I'm seeing right now so far, guys, is minimal. I mean, if I had to dig up a sewer every time I seen an offset, I'd be digging up 90% of Kansas City. You know, every time I stuck a camera down the line. The fact of the matter is we always recommend that you run the line once a year, regardless whether you folks are backing up or not. The point behind it is, you know, us cutting tree roots out of a sewer line is no different than you going outside and trimming a plant or a bush or something like that. They're going to grow back. So if you can keep up on the maintenance of it and keep the pressure of the tree roots off the clay tile, that's what you're after. Some folks don't, and they wait in between backups, or they wait to call somebody until they have, you know, raw sewage, you know, coming up out of the floor drain. And, you know, depending on the size of the line, how long it is, how bad the root intrusion is, there's been some times where I've sat on a bucket for 3 or 4 hours just carving roots out of a pipe. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, you've got to dig it up. So you got some right there at 3 o'clock, and then they're just kind of growing down.
Having all these trees.
You bet. But I have brand new homes too, guys, that are all plastic that back up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So just because you have a brand new home or something along those lines still doesn't make you free and clear. You know what I mean? Yes, ma'am. So, and then, you know, toilet paper. There's another section there where root intrusion. This is our footage right here, guys. So, and this is relatively accurate. I zeroed the camera once we were sitting horizontal, so it's not counting any of this at all. And then a little bit of more root intrusion there and there. Typically, most of your roots, guys, grow in from the top at 12 o'clock, and then those roots will dangle into that water. So the trees are just after the nutrients of the wastewater, and that's what keeps them there. And then once again, you know, a little bit of roots there. Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those got a pretty good thick root system.
Yeah, we took that down real fast.
So, and then here's another joint where you're getting roots in at 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and a little bit up there at the top.
That's 50 feet, huh?
Yes, ma'am. And you got, you know, a little bit of an offset there. And you got quite a bit of root intrusion right there. That's why the pipe's starting to hold so much water right there. So you've got root intrusion growing up at the top, almost, I'd probably say about 85% of that joint right there. And we may not be able to make it past this one. So that's a pretty good ball of roots there. Jab little holes in it and be able to keep going. But and you can see where I'm jamming the hole. If I pull it back real slow, you'll see it look like a cone from trying to stab holes in it. Because you've got the tree roots and then you have paper built up on top of it. And then feces right there. But that one there, guys, that's a big rip ball there. We're sneaking.
Yeah.
All right, so you've got a big one there. The line appears to be 6-inch clay tile. This pipe's 4-inch, so you can't get 6-inch blades down it. The largest blade you're going to be able to get down it is a 4. When the machine's running, it never hits the same spot twice. That's why we always run the lines multiple times, or you'll see the technician pull back and then go back in again until we don't feel that resistance anymore. You're never going to be able to get all the roots out, guys. There's only one method that'll do it, and that's hydrojetting with a root cutter saw on it. 6-inch lines, if they're really bad, sometimes I'll tell people to go ahead and hydrojet it the first time, get the roots under control, and then you can go back to conventional style methods of drain cleaning with just a standard cable stank. Definitely no Charmin toilet paper. That's a big showstopper.
That's what our
yeah.
You said use Scott.
So this is still clay. This is probably where the city started doing their repair, guys. So Kansas City, Missouri has what they call a right-of-way clause. So the homeowners are technically only responsible for where the line starts up to the city easement. What that entails is if the line goes out front, the city easement starts at the face of a sidewalk or the face of the curb, whichever comes first. That's what the city deems as easement. Anything beyond that, if the pipe is damaged, crushed, whatever the case may be, the city picks up the tab. Kansas City, Missouri is the only city that does that. So anywhere else in Missouri, I don't care if you're in Lee Summit, Oak Grove, wherever, all of Kansas is the same. Only Kansas City, Missouri has that. And it's kind of nice because if your line goes out front and you break underneath that city street, that's your baby.
Yeah.
So you have to pay to buy the bond, street cut, and all that good stuff. So the rumor had it was Kansas City, Missouri was trying to get away from it because it gets deathly expensive, when you have so many going on. But they've been trying that for the last 4 or 5 years and haven't been successful on it. So, but that's what the green pipe is. It's just another form of PVC. When they go out back, the rules change a little bit. Since the city mains run so different through backyards, usually they're light poles, electrical poles, anything like that is where they'll deem easement. And if that city main is running through there, guys, the rules state 7.5 feet on either side of that main is what they give you. So as long as it's broke or damaged or anything within that 7.5 feet, once again, the city will take over. And usually when they make these repairs, they'll do a new tap connection on the city main, and then they'll bring that pipe up into the area to where now it would be the homeowner's responsibility. So that way the city's not having to come back and, redo the work.
So Genesis is the one that prepared this for the city.
Gotcha. Yeah, they have a lot of different subcontractors, yeah. And they've kind of tightened the reins up a little bit on the rules now. So your line has to be completely collapsed, and you have to be in a no-flow condition, meaning your home can't get any relief. If the line is offset, if it's cracked, oh yeah, they've been, ever since I'd probably say about 3 months prior to COVID hitting, they really revamped the thing. So they're not going to come out and dig your line up if it's just cracked or if you've got a little offset. It used to be you went on a list, and then when they got to you, they got to you. So you could be sitting on that list for 4 years and not see a contractor come out to dig that line. So they got tired of playing that game, so now all they're going to do is come out and dig it only if it's completely collapsed. So this is the city main right here, that's 8-inch. So they did lob out a section of the city main, put a new tap in, and then brought that new pipe up into the yard to the point where it would be deemed customer responsibility. So, the cracks. We know about the root intrusion problem that you're getting at around the 55-foot marker. We obviously know that's going to eventually need to be cleaned. It'll get to the point eventually where you'll have so much paper and stuff clinging onto the poor tree roots it's going to back the line. Okay? The offset that's up front here at the building connection isn't bad enough to what I would deem to be needing to be dug. Okay? It's nothing that I look at it from this standpoint, guys. I tell every customer this, and I've done it from day one, and my rules on myself won't change on me. I'm not going to recommend anything to a customer that I won't do in my own home. So if I tell you I wouldn't dig it if it was at my house, I'm not going to dig it. The cracks that we were seeing prior to, I had no footage on said cracks from the video footage that I was emailed over to me. Even the emailed pictures that I was getting that Laura sent me were so grainy I couldn't tell nothing.
Right.
They were so dark.
Right.
It was really, really hard to tell. They couldn't get past the 18-foot marker. I got past it no problem. I slid right on by. Nothing tried to get me stuck. Nothing tried to hang me up or any of the such. I can't tell you how long the cracks have been there. They could have been there for years and years. I don't know. Do cracks get better? Typically, no. They're not going to go away. So they're not showing any signs of the pipe heaving up or anything like that. Most likely the cracks were going to be due to the tree root growth. Whether it be, you could have a large feeder root that's trying to grow underneath that clay main and it's trying to lift up on it a little bit. So it just kind of depends on what you folks are after and kind of what you want to do. The cracks and everything like that are not hurting anything, you know. But like I said, they're not going to get any better.
So, at what do you ever just, what would you reckon, if you're going to repair it, what would you repair from what to what?
You would probably be taking out roughly an 8-foot section. Your clay tiles come in 4-foot sections. Okay, so you're gonna have a bell fitting every 4 foot where the pipes interlock to each other. They were traditionally sealed up with a rubber gasket, plumber dependent, also encapsulated in a concrete bed around they'd pour like a mortar joint around the bell. Over time, the gaskets do dry rot, they deteriorate. That's how you seep a little bit of water. We're not talking gushing or anything. And that's how the roots sense it. And then here they come. So you're talking a gap, guys, it's probably about like that if that gasket was gone. So you'd be looking at, you know, and I can give you a more definite coming back. But you'd most likely be replacing about an 8-foot section.
Is that common that you just do sections?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. By doing two, on any typical spot repair that we've ever done, the smallest amount of pipe that we've ever removed is 8 feet.
Okay.
You know, we want to take out at least 2 joints. You know.
So if you spot repair, you still want to do your yearly?
That is correct, ma'am.
Do the yearly?
Just because you do the spot repair on that one section doesn't alleviate the rest of them on the roots.
Yeah.
You know, you're still going to get them. The only way that you'd be able to permanently curb the roots altogether is if you dug the whole thing. That's your only way around it.
At this point, it's not necessary. Right?
No, nothing. Even though the cracks are present, guys. I mean, like I said, I can't tell you how long they were there. You know, I have no idea. I couldn't even give you a guesstimate.
Okay.
You know, so you know. If you're wanting me to, I'll be more than happy to locate where the cracks are at on the bottom, and we can mark them out in the yard for you. You know, the other thing that's available to folks as well is, you know, you have the sewer insurance that you can get. That's available through HomeServe USA. They offer them for both sanitary sewer as well as your water service out in the yard. I don't keep up on that site, guys. I don't read it all the time. When it first came out, they would cover folks up to $4,000 on a repair. Now I've been told, you know, up to $8,000 because of the street cuts and stuff that's needed. We've had about 5 or 6 of our personal customers use it with no problem. So I wouldn't really say it's like a scam thing at all. It's cheap insurance. It only costs like $110 a year. It's like peanuts, you know. You know, you have that avenue if you choose to go down that road. Or like I said, guys, I'll be more than happy to locate it and tell you where it's at, and you know, we can give you an estimate to, you know, to excavate up those sections, the 2 sections that are back to back with each other that are cracked. You know, but as of right now, nothing's heaved up. It's not catching anything or any of the such. So whatever you folks would like to do, you
Can
just
you do that work without actually digging up the yard?
no, sir. We don't do any pipe bursting and we don't do any lining. Get some blood flow going.
Yeah, just-
Someone's here. Can't. Once I hit 40, man, I can't sit in those spots very long.
That's right.
Well, you're
I always
50.
said, that ain't gonna bother me, man. No, I was very wrong on that. So the pipe bursting, you have to have 2 holes of entry. Okay, you have to have one for the hydraulic ram to pull the cable and ram the clay tile out as you're pulling a new line. Typically on pipe bursting, you're doing the whole thing. Pipe bursting does you absolutely no good on a spot repair because you
Yeah.
still need the 2 holes for entry. So typically you're going to have one in the basement where they break up the floor, and then they're going to be down there pretty much where the city made their repair and ties back onto the existing clay tile. That would be entry number 2, and then they pull an HDPE. It's a very thick, strong plastic that's fused together by a weld. And as that burst head's pulling and breaking up the existing clay, it's pulling the new line right behind it. The other options that are on the market is SIP lining, which is your fiberglass resin sock. There's different forms of it. There's a pipe patch system where you can patch sections instead of the whole thing. And then you have the option that you can line from point A to point B. Method of entry, 1. So
What I was thinking of, but
it is
you can't
expensive.
go in for like here somewhere. You
No,
have
they
to
would
go-
most likely have to break up the floor, sir, and be able to measure it out properly, cut the sock, and then be able to get it to roll out.
Yeah.
They typically can't line from the clean outs or any of the such like that. Going rate, don't quote me on it, but I've heard craziness anywhere from $250 to $500 a foot. So usually the only time, guys, I see folks lining it is if they're having to go underneath the street to save themselves of having to cut up the road. If you have, a sewer that's running underneath the entire length of a driveway, so you don't have to pay the expense to pull your driveway, excavate it, and then relay a new one. Anything expensive, like we had one over in Mission Hills where it was a $1 million statue fountain kind of thing, and they didn't want to pull the fountain down, so they just lined underneath it. There's different methods for people to do different things, but it all boils down to what's going to be the most cost effective and what's going to work best for the homeowner. So there is other options out there besides manual excavation. I just seem to find that the other 2, the latter, are very expensive from some of the ones, and they all have their pros and cons to each other. If you've got a large sag in the line, you don't want to pipe burst it. The pipe bursting's just following the exact path of the existing pipe. So I'm a manual excavation guy. It's never failed me in 20-something plus years. So I can get the gravel underneath the pipe and have a structurally sound repair. Versus the pipe bursting, you're not doing it.
The places you're looking at, would you have to dig into the patio? Right here?
I would have to locate them first, sir, and to be able to tell you exactly where they're at. My camera's got a transmitter in it, and then I pick it up via a receiver,
Yeah.
and I'd be able to tell you folks exactly where those cracks are at. Now let's just say, I'm not saying that this is the case, but let's just say they are underneath the patio or the sunroom. Then you may want to look into lining, possibly, to save yourself the trouble. And you don't have to line the whole thing, guys. I mean, you can do just a section. If you want to line it just to get you outside of that said patio area to keep you from having, property damage done to it or anything, sure, I totally understand. People do it all the time. I get it. So, but I would need to actually find out where those spots are at first, and then let you guys kind of make a decision from there as far as how you guys want to approach it.
Okay.
But the lining and the pipe bursting, guys, I apologize, we don't do it. So if we find out that the cracks or whatever are underneath that, I can definitely refer you guys to people that do it. You know, you could call them up, sir, and get quotes from them. And I'm sure you're probably going to get variations all across the board, you know. So, but the lining will take care of the cracks, but, you know, it's not going to take care of the rest of the root intrusion that's happening. So the line's still going to have to be cleaned no matter what.
Yeah.
And the total from this clean out to that city tap is 74 foot from point A to point B.
Yeah, we've gotten different numbers from everybody that's running.
Sure,
One guy
yeah,
said
you
he
bet.
went out 65 feet to the city line, and another one
Yeah.
said he went out 100 feet.
Yeah,
in the line.
it just kind of depends on where the technician zeroes his footage on the camera.
Yeah.
So I always do it right when I'm just past the 90-degree turn underneath the floor. That way I'm not counting the clean out, I'm not counting the 90-degree turn, and I'm not counting all this fiber cable between my reel and the point of entry.
Yeah.
Some people don't zero the cameras at all because they, you know, some people don't really care about the footage per se. They're just more after what's going on with the line, you know.
Yeah.
So it's really going to be tech dependent.
Okay.
In that root ball, sir, the real bad one is at 53 feet 10 inches. That's the one that's pretty much engulfed it right now.
That's probably the one out there where they said there's an offset and we get roots in there fairly.
I can't even see an offset because the roots are engulfing the pipe. I can't even see it. I was able to get right through it after a couple passes. I had to sit there and knock holes through the roots to get the camera to pass.
Right between two trees there.
Is that what it is? Just to get back to these spots where the cracks are at, and we'll go outside and locate them. Because I'm pretty sure they were back to back. They're not hurting anything, but they are there. So there it is right there. So that's at 18 feet. They did say on the camera that, you know, but the way people word things on the camera, on that paper, if you saw it, they were acting like it was completely crushed and they couldn't pass this spot.
Yeah.
I passed it with no problem, exactly. So,
And 18 feet.
so that crack,
Man, that might be. Is that? Would you?
it's saying, the camera's saying 19 feet 2 inches on this crack, and then it's still continuing there, and there's the next joint right there. So,
That might be outside the patio.
well, this thing goes out at an angle, so we're going this way, and then it does a 45-degree turn and catches that foundation drainage pit floor drain right behind you.
Maybe not.
And that's the only one, because there's where they start to lock it, so that's the only section that's done. But regardless of the fact, I always take out about an 8-foot section.
18 right there. Go.
Yep, right there.
Yep.
So I'm gonna mark it. Let's go find where that's at. Get my snooper to where it's gonna be, or that bug right on it. And then we'll go see where this bad boy's at. And then we'll get it marked for them and let them make the decision what they'd like to do.
Alright.
goodness. Alrighty, turn that off. We'll back this out. Got it located. We're good.
Is this off?
No, don't pull that yet. Don't pull that yet, my friend. Goodness.
Do the battery real quick.
Yeah, you can wrap that up. Wrap that cord up on it. You'd be okay with that. No problems there.